they're always there. Action Force are there. Action Force will dare. Action Force. Now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It is me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and you've tuned in for the final episode. Maybe final episode. Maybe. I mean, it is, but who knows? There's a lot of European adventures ahead of us. Of Joe-Nie Loves Action Force with special guest host Michael Nie. Michael, welcome back to Joe on Joe.
Thank you so much. So happy to be back.
We are very excited to be here, listeners. If you've come along with us on this Action Force journey, we have covered all of the issues of Action Force weekly for the last, at this point, I've lost count, 11 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. If you're just tuning in for the first time, please go back and check it out from the beginning. Action Force has been an absolute fun ride. And production-wise, Michael, they're shifting into going to a monthly.
They are. They do talk about it a little bit here in the final issue.
I'm excited to see what we have there.
Give you a little tease.
Listeners, as you know, Michael has his own collection of the Action Force weekly issues, and I am reading off the Blood for the Baron website. So go to the Blood for the Baron website, find the links. It's very easy to find. It's under comics, and you can read along with us as we cover the Venetian blinds.
That's right.
Blinds, just blind, right? It's
Venetian
just blind. They don't actually say blinds, right?
Yeah.
Just blind. Venetian blind, which is a great name for this.
It's fantastic.
It's a fantastic name for this episode. So we appreciate you coming along for the ride, new and old listeners. We also appreciate our fabulous sponsors, the Movies in a Meal podcast. They're out there doing the good work, talking movies, talking meals. They talk TV shows. Michael, since we last recorded this, I was a guest host on an episode of my friend Christian's podcast, so all kinds of podcast plugging here, called Part-Time Fanboy, but we talked about Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
And you and I were recording this in October. It's Halloween spooky season.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gone down a rabbit hole, and I've rewatched. We talked about Nightmare on Elm Street 3 on his show, but
right.
I went down the rabbit hole, and I rewatched the rest of the sequels.
Wow.
Are you a Nightmare on Elm Street guy?
I dabble in it.
Dabble.
You know, I keep myself. It's part of the the fabric of culture, and so to say I'm a fanboy like I am about Action Force and G.I. Joe would be telling a bit of a fib, but no, I mean I enjoy.
Freddie don't like fibbers.
And I figure this episode will probably be airing sometime around the Oscars, so there'll be lots of movies to talk about.
Oh my God, there's gonna be so many movies to talk about. Oscars 2028.
Yeah, there you go.
No, there's gonna be a lot of movies to talk about. Well, I could see why they. It's so weird watching those Freddy movies. Like you just see this. Not to knock them because I like them, but this sanitization. Even though they were made by being made by people who loved them. But as more money pumped into them, the worse they got.
Of course.
This sanitization of what in the first movie is absolutely frightening.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely frightening.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I watched Freddy's Dead the other day, which has its moments, but it's just very clean.
Yeah.
The whole thing is so clean. And I'm like, it's
not great.
No, it's not. I'm like, that's so weird. It's so weird. So, So what, have you seen anything great lately?
Yeah. I mean, it's, I was saying it's not the most recent film to come out, but Paramount was having a screening. You know, the studios are starting to do their awards screenings for, trying to get Oscar nominations. And so, the Bob Marley film,
Nice.
One Love was, a bit of a crowd pleaser. But actually also a bit of a blind spot in my music history. Knowledge, just his life and the number of things that I wasn't aware of, and I thought they did a really good job. And
good.
I enjoy that the melding of music and cinema.
Yeah,
because it's firing on all art cylinders, right?
100%. Yeah, it's got so much energy.
Yeah,
Those movie biopics. Is there a word? Bio something. I feel like there's a word for those.
Yeah.
Like they call them jukebox musicals when they're on Broadway. I feel like there's a phrase for those when they do like the Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man and all that.
Exactly.
But it was good. You recommend?
I do. Yeah, it was. And I know the family was very involved in they've been trying to get this done for a long time. And a British actor who's sort of new to the scene, playing number one on the call sheet. The lead. He's fantastic. There was a little Q&A after the screening I went to, and he's super intelligent, really, humble and passionate about doing right by the family and
That's
being
cool.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's cool. No, it's great.
It's worth checking out. It's
Awesome.
and it's maybe not for your 5 or 6 year old, but teenagers or whatever.
Unless your 5 or 6 year old smokes a lot of weed. So, listeners, check out the Movies in a Meal podcast. I'm sure they covered One Love. I doubt they've covered Freddy. I got to be honest, I doubt they've covered Freddy's Dead yet.
Sure.
But I'm sure they're covering scary movies, and at this point in time, maybe even Christmas movies. Who knows? Maybe they're doing a whole series on Lifetime Christmas movies. I don't know. But they're great sponsors, so go check them out. While you're on the internet, please say hello on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at JoeOnJoePod. Every follow helps. Every interaction helps. Raise the attention. If you're listening on a podcatcher, which probably 99.9% of you are, please leave a rate and review on the show. Let us know how you feel about the show, and let the world know, because that also raises the profile. And you can also help support the show at Joe and Joe Pod. What are those called? Those are called Patreon. Patreon.com/Joe and Joe Pod. That's what they're called. You can help support the show there. We've got some old episodes that were never really made available on the main feed that you can listen to, and you could just help keep the doors open here at Joe on Joe. All right, all that aside, Venetian Blind.
Menace in Venice.
Menace in Venice.
Shall we look at some covers here, Joe?
Let's do it.
All right, so for the final story arc, original story arc from Marvel UK, Action Force Weekly, kicking things off, we have the cover of number 47. I enjoy this cover, and thematic with the competition that they have announced across the top. 12,
I love it.
12 Cobra hydrofoils must be won.
Must be won.
So we've got a hydrofoil here, coming right at us, and guns a-blazing.
Again, assuming this is Richard Starking as the editor making those choices, I applaud his use of the word. Like, we use the phrase "must be won."
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's a phrase that was ever on American comic books, because they ran contests.
Sure.
You could star in the Superman the movie. Like that was a big thing in DC. Marvel they would run contests on banners of comic books all the time. I don't ever remember seeing this amount or this item must be won, and it's great.
It is.
It makes a sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm. There's no stopping it.
No, like it's going to be won, whether it's you or not is entirely up to your call. I don't know, but it must happen. That's a nice hydrofoil. Who did the covers at Hitch still?
Yeah, so for 47 and 48, Brian Hitch did these two covers.
Nice.
And the issue themselves, we're going back to the very beginning. We've got Simon Furman.
Awesome.
Doing on writing duties, and we've got good old Kev Hopgood come back to do the interior art on all four of these.
Excellent. I like the art. I like everything about this production looks good. So this is a big menacing hydrofoil cutting through the waterways of Venice. Pretty comic accurate. I like it.
That's the only real interesting. You look at the lamprey there. He's kind of a mashup between Copperhead and a lamprey. He's got the cut off sleeves and the.
Yeah, it's like they flesh colored him, so he just looks like he's not wearing a suit underneath his floaties.
Yeah, and that's the only representation of lamprey actually in Action Force. He's not in the interior that you see, but
it's exciting. Now, long rumored to be, and by this point, I doubt they would have announced it even by the time but long rumored to be in the hot seat for a HasLab. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but
I just
in the land, sea, and air that they're trying to fulfill.
Sure.
A lamprey or a moray,
yeah,
and a killer whale would look amazing.
Yeah,
on shelves together,
and also ridiculously huge because
price point's crazy.
The 3 3/4 inch versions of both of those are
huge.
I mean, fill up your coffee table. Yeah. So
we're talking. I would wager $700 price point.
I think they
saw what comic books did, where people were plunking down $500,
Yeah.
you know, at a clip for Kickstarter for reprints of books that have been, you know, which I'm one of them.
Yeah.
And they go, we can do $700. We can do a $700 whale. We can do a $700.
It might,
lamprey.
you know, if there's
I think they can do it.
If there's a spouse in the house, there might only be room for one or the other, but
Sure,
you know,
yeah. Well, no. Here's the deal: you get them, and you keep them in a box, but you stack them. You stack your bed on these boxes.
there you go.
So you'll have 4. You'll have the hiss, dragonfly, the lamprey, or the moray, and the killer whale.
All right.
And they'll support your bed frame.
Got to get those box dimensions.
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
the same.
So basically, what I'm saying is get rid of your bed frame, stack these boxes, and then just lay the bedding over it. And she walks in, she's like, "Something's different about this bedroom. I don't know what you're talking about." Yeah, there you go. I think that works. I think that totally works.
Amazing.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. What's that second cover?
Yeah, so also by Brian Hitch. Not as much a fan of this one, just in terms of
It's awkward.
Yeah. I mean, he's trying to do some things, but it's Lady J smashing a Crimson Guard
Yep.
in the chin,
Yeah, it's awkward.
butt of her gun.
It's awkward. Anatomically, it's weird. Although it's probably accurate. It's just a weird angle, so it looks weird.
Yeah.
And then he's hitting that the way the Crimson Guard, it's kind of like he's laying on the bottom of the page, which sort of works for me, but it also makes a little bit of that awkward parallel that sometimes is weird when it comes to comic panels, you know,
Yeah.
where if it's too close to the edge and is on the same, you know, parallel line with it, it just looks odd.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's happening with his body on this.
And something about this, I mean, I appreciate a good like explosion background, but this background's not doing it for me. It's just a lot of white, and I don't know.
You know what it's also doing? It's also going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Her motion is going lower left, where if you flip this, not saying it would have worked with the indicia and stuff up at the top or left, but let's just say it's the motion of someone punching someone out or knocking someone out. If that motion carries you to the lower right, that carries your eye to open the page.
Yeah.
This carries your eye to not.
Right.
You know.
Right. We have another competition announced, although it's interesting how they use the upper flint, where you normally have a Flint or Destro to announce a great video competition.
Well, there's no room above.
Yeah.
Because of that picture.
Yeah. So there's just the whole overall layout of this cover, not great.
Yeah. Ain't the best. And
But it is Brian Hitch's last contribution.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
you know,
No.
well,
I mean, and
you know,
it's you know they're
he maybe ran out of time.
yeah. Her head seems a little small. There's a lot going on. Her head seems really small, especially in like proportion to her chest.
Yeah.
What's the last cover?
Now, so second to last, this 49.
Oh, that's right. You were 4
So
issues.
Kev Hopgood, who does the interiors for all 4 of these, he drew this cover.
Okay.
So this one, you know.
It's good. It's Flint on a
yeah.
boat about to be chopped up by a propeller. Oh, no, that's not a propeller. That's the back of the boat. About to be murdered by an eel.
Yeah.
I thought that was a propeller.
No, it's one of those Venetian boats.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah. So, you know.
It's a well-rendered eel, too.
And
One of the best costumes in all of the toys.
the title Death in Venice,
All right.
question mark, you
I
know.
like it.
And then finally, this one I don't know quite what to say.
I get the Christie reference.
This is the last cover, issue 50, and this was a collaboration.
Shocking cover, and I love it. I love it.
This is Jerry Paris,
Okay.
along with John Burns.
Not John Byrne.
Not John Byrne. John Burns, inker extraordinaire. But anyway, they collaborated on this one. There's a lot going on here.
I think it's dope.
Okay.
I think it parallels the first one.
Yeah.
With the people with explosions, you know, same kind of format of similar color scheme with the red, black, yellow explosions behind them fighting. And this time you've got a bad guy in the center of it.
Yeah.
I think that's super intriguing for a final issue.
Yeah. Maybe it's just this Lady J face is, I don't know. It looks to me like a hobbit.
She's looked better. She has absolutely looked better. Destro looks strong though.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
everyone looks strong, but Destro looks like he's a wrestler.
Yes.
I dig it. They've given him. He looks very. This is a heavy metal 2000 kind of Destro. You know, this is a Destro that would be comfortable walking into a Judge Dredd story.
Yeah.
You know, like everything's chunky.
Yeah.
His gun, his fingers, his medallion, you know, like everything has heft and weight.
Yeah.
Including Lady J's face.
You can hardly see Flint. He's he's hiding behind his gunfire.
Yeah, he looks good, but if anyone's underserved, it's Flint. Yeah, it's hard to tell that that's Flint there. I dig it, man. I dig it. And I think it says a lot to put Destro on the front of that, final cover.
It is fun. And the title is Flint and Jay, side by side with Destro.
Oh, man.
Plus, and this is about the reprints from G.I. Joe, but plus the death of Storm Shadow, it says in the lower right.
Imagine you didn't carry over to the monthly. And I'm sure they did reprints there.
Yeah.
And you were reading this as a kid, and you just see Storm Shadow die, and you don't know that he comes back.
Yeah.
That would be a terrible way to end your Action Force subscription.
Absolutely. And the monthly didn't continue for several months after this.
Oh, my gosh.
Action Force Weekly, the reprints, so actually the continuation of that story, they ended up moving it into the Transformers book.
Got it.
I do have an example of one of those.
Oh, okay.
Just to give you a sense, but it was the Transformers and Action Force, you know, in much smaller print.
But that was Action Force. Just the reprints, no new material.
Correct, but it would have continued the death of the Storm Shadow bit. So, and that actually ran. So after our last issue here, they published in the very next week in Transformers number 153, and it went for 150 plus issues. So another 3 years.
Oh wow!
Reprinting the G.I. Joe.
Exciting!
U.S. material
with new Transformers material.
Yes. So Simon Furman was the writer on Transformers.
He was doing. Yeah, I know he was doing heavy work over there.
And the only reason I have this, I have 161 here, so this would have been like 2 months after the conclusion here. Mm-hmm. They did do one last little original Action Force, like a PSA type. It was all about road safety.
Oh yeah,
and so that story
I saw that it's on Blood for the Baron.
Yeah,
it's on.
So if you're looking for that last original content that they did, it was in Transformers number 161.
Awesome.
But anyway.
That's good stuff, man.
And then in the upper left on issue 50 here, they say great news inside. The news is that we're going to be a backup story in Transformers. So I don't know about the great, but
just remember that, ladies and gentlemen, as you go through life, superlatives are always perspective based.
Of course.
Great for whom? Hey, I got a funny story for you. This is a great story. I got bad news. This person died. It's all a matter of perspective.
Of course.
I don't need you to define what the news is. You just tell me the news. I'll make my choice, whether it's funny, bad, terrible, sad, or great.
Sure.
Let me make that choice, because half the time you're going to be wrong. Awesome. Well, let's dive into the actual story. I kind of wanted to roll over the covers a little bit, because this story works just really well as its own. Just to roll straight through. Like it's a well put together 4-piece.
Yeah.
It's funny that because we did them a little out of order, when we get to the point about the Lady J and Flint story, I had to remember, they took a break from that story for 6 issues or what have you.
Yeah.
And then revisited it right before this.
Yeah, they actually do something in the very first issue here, kind of to catch you up.
Oh, okay.
So let me just humor me just for a second. So in
humored, consider yourself humored.
Issue 47. So normally, Mission Control at the, kind of the table of contents of the issue, they give you, a competition detail or something like that. But in this case, it's simply a recap of a bit of what's been going on. And there's the image of Destro from an earlier issue.
Oh, right.
Blasting away. But the title is The Triangle of Tension. And it says, there's an air of tension down at Action Force's European headquarters these days. The air crackles with suppressed rage whenever Flint and Lady J are in the same room together. The friendship and loyalty they once shared is now strained under the weight of bitterness and recrimination. And all because a man called Destro. Destro is a gunrunner, a terrorist, and also a remorseless killer. In cold blood, he shot and seriously wounded Lady J during a Cobra raid on Action Force's Stoneberry Weapons Testing Range. At any other time, her wounds would have been accepted as just one of the occupational hazards that come with working for Action Force, but this time it was personal. This time, it was Lady J who was lying, bleeding, on the floor, and J was Flint's friend. In a fit of anger, he decided to pay a visit to Destro's Mars, Military Armaments Research Systems, headquarters. After a brief, violent battle, Destro found himself staring into the barrel of Flint's trench gun. But as the fog of hate cleared, Flint realized that he did not have an unrestricted license to kill, that to shoot Destro would make him no better than those he fought against. So Flint left, knowing that, had the situation been reversed, they would have been carrying him out in a body bag. On returning to Action Force HQ, he found Jay in a deep coma, so deep, in fact, that after 2 weeks in an intensive care ward, only sheer willpower pulled her through, but the joy of her recovery was marred by her anger at Flint, by her inability to accept that Flint allowed Destro to live, and her belief that Flint failed in his responsibilities to her, Action Force, and mankind.
Mankind.
So Flint is racked with guilt and remorse, whilst Lady J is filled with anger and bitterness towards her leader and old friend. Meanwhile, Destro continues to supply Cobra with weapons for its war against the free world and grows rich from the agony and despair Cobra causes.
That's exciting.
So somebody wrote that.
Somebody wrote that.
I don't know if it was Richard Starkings or if it was Simon Furman, but, a little prose intro.
I love it. I love it. Also, I want to interject with the Fog of Hate was the 1999 new metal band that I fronted for 3 months. I love it. That's a great wrap up, and it definitely it's definitely needed here because the heel turn that you get, heel turn, I guess, but the anger that's there, it definitely does need a little reminder for, especially if someone's brand new to it, and you just think, oh, those two are together, and you're like, no, there's anger, there's some issues here. Yeah. So this works really well as a piece. I like it.
All right.
Dun dun dun. Also, before we get going, there's gonna be a lot of hopefully funny. Again, I don't want to prejudge it, but hopefully they're funny. But a lot of jokes made about the Italians in this as we run this.
Sure.
So if you're listening, if you're Italian, who I myself am, quarter Italian. So if you're Italian, if you're part of the mafia, if you're part of the mafioso, if you're mafia adjacent, no harm, no foul. We're just having fun.
That's right.
Because this book certainly portrays the mafia.
Indeed. Venetian Blind, part
Venetian Blind.
Here we are in Venice, the Bridge of Sighs.
And everything these dudes say, Tito and whatever this other dude's name is, Tito Miera. I just wanted to say, like, hey, but what ain't the healthiest to mess with an outfit like a cobra? That's all. I mean, that's it. That's it. I just read this. That's all I want to say in this. There's a few,
that sums it up.
Yeah, there's a few lines. I think I'm trying to find them. I thought there was a few lines where they're like, capiche? But, oh yeah, no, this is the one, yeah. Nah, no one does this to us. No one. Not the hoods, and not the feds, and not the cobra. Like, it's great. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So we're in Venice, mafia hotbed.
The Pearl of the Adriatic.
A
city steeped in culture and history, grace and beauty. But
having
beauty.
A moment, by the way, because this was 88.
Yeah.
And in 89, Indiana Jones would travel the streets of Venice.
That's right.
Plundering and looting corpses and crypts and rats.
Absolutely.
And boats.
Action Force did it first.
Action Force did it first, as always.
Beauty is sometimes only skin deep. And like Venice's canals, close inspection often reveals scum floating not beneath the surface, on the surface.
Apparently, the canals of Venice are filthy, it's not great. I hope they figure it out. But apparently, they are filthy.
I will say, took my honeymoon once upon a time to Europe and went from Croatia to Venice.
Okay.
So flew, and in Croatia the water is like the clearest water you've ever seen in your life, high salinity, like beautiful. It was like just gorgeous. Like you can see the reflection of the boat, in the water underneath it. go to Venice, and it was just like mud.
Oh my gosh.
Like the
Yeah.
stark contrast.
Yeah. Yeah, and all the buildings are sinking, which is also terrible.
Yes.
Because it's such a crazy, what a great idea awesome idea for a city.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it exists. But yeah, all the buildings are crumbling.
Yeah.
Because really, I don't think that the water sealant property, they needed some of that bond, like you see in the infomercials where they slap bond and stop they needed some of that 500 years ago when they were built, or however long ago when they were building Venice.
Yeah.
I think there's a fair amount of water erosion, so I hope Venice gets that sorted. I also hope they get their mafia issue sorted too. Tito Mira, I keep saying Miera, but that's not right. It's probably Mera. Tito Mera? How would you pronounce Meira? I keep wanting to put the I before the E, which is not right.
You're talking to an Irish guy here.
I keep wanting to add an I after the R,
Yeah.
which is also not right. So I think it's probably Mera, Tito Mera, as the families, of course, the family being, code name for mafia.
Yeah.
I can officially confirm that we are very happy with the way you've handled our Venetian operation. As you well know, it's healthy to keep the family happy. That's just super coded, Godfather terms,
Yeah.
But Tito's, by the way, Tito's sweating it because he says what ain't healthy is to mess with an outfit like Cobra. Those two jokers I threw out last night, the ones who wanted a slice of my action. They were with their Looney Tunes bunch. This is it, Tito. But they're like, nah, don't worry about it. Hey, don't worry, relax, forget about it.
Meanwhile, that Moray hydrofoil is lurking.
Cobra wouldn't dare take on the mafia. Meanwhile, of course, you got the streets of Venice. You got a Moray hiding, although I feel like a cigarette boat would not do well in Venice.
And one that's bright red.
Well, sure, bright red, but also, wouldn't it be too big? You know what I mean? I feel like a giant cigarette boat would be a lot.
I do know this intersection, and I will say.
Are you serious?
It is wide. Here, where the Bridge of Sighs is.
Oh, yeah, right.
This is actually
that's a famous bridge.
It's a very wide. Yeah, this is the Bridge of Sighs, and it's a very wide. This portion of the canal is like the Grand Canal.
Got
and
it.
so now
makes sense.
to get into this area, I think you have to go under a number of archways that are a bit tight and smaller. So
yeah.
Maybe it was airdropped in. Well,
yeah.
But it can actually maneuver
Did you
around.
ever see those videos where they're going under the thing and the guys actually step up onto the bridge to cross because their boat just comes right underneath the top of the bridge and they kind of walk over the bridge and drop back down onto their boat. Yeah. It's not happening with the Moray.
No.
But we get a fun Moray popping out of the alley. I guess we'll call them alleys and streets, right? I mean, they kind of are. They're made of water, but canals. Yeah. And here we go, Venetian Blind Part 1. And it's a fun, I mean, it is focused on that decal, that really great Cobra snake decal on the front.
And all throughout, I have to say, there's multiple, panels where the decal is like really accurate.
Yeah.
They definitely had the toy in front of them.
Yes, absolutely.
Or 12 of them.
Right.
That must be one.
And they've got the Moray up on the high-speed ski.
On the hydrofoil.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a little crazy.
It's a little nuts. But it's up on its high-speed ski, and they're shooting up the boat. This is where they the lead guy we never really got his name. It doesn't matter because he's gonna get got. But Tito's the short guy.
Yeah.
And we never really got this guy's name, but he's this real.
He's not long for this.
No, he's not long for this role. This guy would have been like Michael Corleone, one of Michael Corleone's bodyguards.
Yes.
Yeah. He's Tito's telling him to get down, and he's like, "Nah, no one does this. No one, not the hoods, not the feds." And that's when Cobra chews him up and chews up the boat.
Oh yeah.
Fup fup fup. This man's dead meat. The hydrofoil awash on the ferry boat, like it throws it in its wash. Oh, this is the line.
Mamma mia!
Mamma mia! That's the one. That's the one that made me laugh out loud.
Yeah. It's a comedy, kids.
Yeah, it's a comedy. So yeah, nice drawing. I like that the perspective they got on that with the snakes blow it when they're like blow it out of the water.
Oh
and they
yeah,
drop
launching
the
these torpedoes.
torpedoes. Yeah, that's really good.
Amazing.
Great sound effects. Doom, straight out of a Thor issue.
Yeah, cutting this mafia boat right in half.
Totally. Well, so I don't know that it's a mafia boat. I think it's just a regular like
Oh,
tourist
yeah.
ferry.
Yeah.
Which means Cobra just killed random innocents.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens. Well, wait, hey, they're all mafia. Come on. And the Cobra agent pulls up. He says, "Compliments of Cobra Commander, Senor Mira. He suggests you reconsider our offer."
There's that decal.
I like this. Like they're gonna pretend like they didn't just try to kill him. Like, oh, now we're sending a message. Really?
Yeah.
What if you had missed killing? What if you had actually killed him?
He only survived because he jumped off the boat.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So that's you doing a bad job there, Cobra Guy. So we get a little sit-ops situation.
Cut to
Cut
St.
to
Mark's Square.
St. Mark's Square with
Gelato shop. Upstairs.
Trent filling in Lady J, Quick Kick, Shipwreck, which is a nice
Shipwreck
surprise.
is back. So it's a callback. So again, Simon Furman writing. He wrote the first couple issues, and so Shipwreck was involved in those as well. So actually, this cast of characters, if you remember the gunboat that we kicked this series off with,
I do.
is very much the.
It's Footloose, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And Flint. They're all around this round table. And Trent is filling them in that the mafia is they're worried about the truce between the mafia and Cobra. They think Cobra is getting their money from the mafia because someone's got to pay for Cobra. Mm-hmm. Cobra needs a fundraising base, a source of finance for their campaigns of terror, and that is something we must deny them. Which is, gotta be honest, pretty elevated thinking.
Yeah.
Like I think as a kid, you never would have thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
But as obviously Simon Furman being an adult writing it, like you would think of that. But now with all the focus on whatever, we all know a lot more now based on real world stuff about terrorism stuff, where they're always like sanctions. And what's that doing? That's cutting off the funding.
Right.
I remember back in the day, it was just like, just attack them. Like you know what I mean? Like they just magically got stuff. And it was like, we just got to find their base and get them.
Yeah.
Where this is a little elevated, going like, no, man, we cut off their source of their funds. They're not going to be able to actually operate, which is pretty good.
Yeah. Much more nuanced.
Yeah.
And you can see Flint's frustration with Trent here.
Oh, he's so very upset.
Goes so far as to break his pencil in half.
Man, that is, you know what that is? That's frustration because Lady J is still upset with him, and they have not been sharing a room together.
That's
is
right.
what that is.
That's right.
Yeah. It is great though because Flint knows who their source of information is, and he's getting pissed because he's like, you got to tell them who this is.
Sir, with all due respect, hadn't you better tell them exactly who your source of information is before we go any further?
And from the shadows, with all due respect, Flint, I prefer to make my own introductions. The name, as I'm sure you all know, is Destro. And when he says Destro, the camera goes on Lady J's face.
Horrified.
No.
A little bit of Luke Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. Now, if you remember, listeners, if this is your first episode tuning in, you definitely need to listen to at least last week's episode, because last week's episode was this great story about Destro being punked by Cobra.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to an assassination attempt where he had to come basically back from death, get his revenge, but it ended with him like saying, I'm here to take over Cobra. I don't care what Cobra Commander says. I'm going to play nice until I take this thing over. So now we go from that story into now he's working with the Action Force.
Yeah.
It's so juicy. What a great ending to an issue.
Fantastic.
So juicy.
Yeah, no, they're really threading it together here.
Yeah.
There's something funny in the mail call here, real quick, and then we'll get right back into it. But I don't know if you remember, but there was some confusion where who's Snow Job, who's Frostbite, in the world of Action Force here, and so basically a reader writes in and he's like, who's who, what. One was labeled the other, and are these two separate people? Are they the same person, basically? And the response is essentially, Snow Job, yes, We know the name Frostbite appeared on the last page of the story, but that was the fault of a dumb stubby whose head has since rolled. So Richard Starkings is just commenting, we sometimes make mistakes.
Yeah, Richard Starkings also just admitted to murder. There's a poor intern who's dead.
I have a feeling he and Destro maybe share some sensibilities.
Yeah, Starkings writes that, like finishes, hits send on the computer file or typewriter or whatever they were doing at the time. Just quietly turns to the window and puts on his metal mask.
Yes.
And just laughs because no one knows what he's really, really up to.
Joe, do you want to know what you had to do to win this hydrofoil now that we've seen it in action?
Yeah.
So it wasn't too complicated. How to enter? Look at the 2 pictures below. Study them closely. Scrutinize every curve, every line, every detail, because though they may seem identical, they are not. There are, in fact, 6 differences in picture B. All you have to do to become a proud owner of a Cobra hydrofoil is find those differences. After you've found them, ring them, meaning circle them, and cut out the coupon, including picture B. Send it in, and, if it's drawn. So,
wow.
essentially...
And it's a picture of... Oh, it's from that issue. It's Snow Job and Frostbite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just...
there's a patch.
Yeah.
There's
saw the bit of camouflage there.
Where?
Oh well, I think.
Yeah, maybe I don't win. It's actually
there's a magazine missing.
Okay.
Anyway, if you stare.
I see it. Yeah.
Stare at it long enough.
Yeah, there's some good. It's also pretty small.
Yes.
Pretty small pics. Okay.
Yeah.
So they were arranging it so kids with vision problem, like nearsighted kids, or farsighted kids. Farsighted kids were at a loss here. Farsighted kids lost.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
contest for the nearsighted kids.
And remember, more than 12 people probably wrote in to try and win this competition. So it did involve cutting out, a page of your Action Force comic. And maybe you don't win.
Oh yeah.
So
on the other side.
nice thing is, it's an
okay.
ad on the other side.
Got it.
So at least they were being thoughtful in that
those
regard.
Action Force books.
But clearly, the owner of the issue that I have did not win a hydrofoil because the coupon is still
So
here.
whoever that owner is, guess what? You're also a loser. That's right. You're also a loser. Not losers. Us though, because we're rolling into the second part of Venetian Blind.
That's right.
We cut back to the streets of Venice. City of lights, laughter, romance, but like any city, it has a dark side. And some mafioso is walking in the room looking for his friend Gino. And the lights turn on. It's a darkened room, and Gino's dead. And there are 5 Crimson Guardsmen with their guns drawn. Mm-hmm. The money you hold now belongs to Cobra, the new rulers of organized crime in Venice. And you, like your friend, are expendable. So Gino's dead. We don't. That's so funny. We never get the name of one guy in the conversation.
Yeah.
So whoever this dude is, he says, "Take the money and spare me." The Crimson Guardsman says he can't do that. The mafia have ruled the crime syndicates for too long. It's time they understood the meaning of the word fear. Anyone there in their employ is, and that's interrupted by a big explosion. And you get Action Force running on the scene like superheroes.
Yeah.
This is the least military operation I've ever seen.
Right.
They come running in, guns blazing, without except for Quick Kick because he doesn't have a gun. He just has fists.
Fisticuffs, yeah.
Just hilarious.
Of course.
Hilarious. They're not even like putting nunchucks spinning in his hand. Like he's just coming in ready to punch somebody.
That's right.
Hey, Quick, how about you pick up a gun because we're getting into a gunfight. No, hold on. I got registered weapons at the ends of my forearms.
Yeah.
I'm going to use them.
Although he is instrumental here, as we'll see.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He probably does more damage than anyone, actually.
Yeah, actually, you know what? He probably does.
To be fair.
I'm speaking. I'm sounding like a hater here. So we get a little gunfight between these Crimson Guardsmen and the Joes or Action Force. So we get one dead Crimson Guardsman in the first panel. I'm assuming he dies.
Mm-hmm. And I love this. Curse you, Flint! You'll not take me that easily.
Yeah.
This Crimson Guard does not have a name that we are aware of, but he's speaking as though
he knows who Flint is. Yeah,
and Flint knows exactly who he is almost.
Well, I feel like Flint's like, dude, you're faceless. You don't get to name me. Like, you don't. The lowest I'll deal with is Major Blood. Like, anyone below Major Blood, you don't get to use my name.
Yeah.
You just call me. Well, see, they would call them Joes. You Joes can't, but you Forcers, you action Forcers, like, oh, maybe Flint works. It seems we must once more remind the Action Force why the Crimson Guard are the most feared of all Cobra troops. I like that move. That's reinforcing that they're legit.
And I love this reveal. He's talking to a guy who's already been taken out.
Yeah, it's really good. So there's a guy behind him who's kind of just standing there, and it turns out he's got 3 stars, shuriken, thrown into his back by Quick Kick, who then comes flying over the roof and breaks this guy's neck.
So he's taken out 2 of the 5.
That is true. Do you remember the era when shuriken, we called them as we were kids, shiny stars,
Yeah.
were enough to kill someone?
Oh, yeah.
They're not, though. Not remotely.
Yeah.
They're not great. It's not great. And I get it. If you take one in the eye, you're going to have an issue.
Sure.
But, like, there were so many movies. And in this comic book right here, this reminded me of it.
Yeah.
The guy got 3 small, I'll even give you 2 inches of metal. Maybe an inch. Probably more of an inch, but I'll give you 2 inches. 3 small pieces, 2 inches of metal shoved randomly in your back. That guy's not dead.
Yeah.
Unless, does he coat them in poison?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is Quick Kick secretly a poisoner?
Yeah.
I don't know that he is. But, like,
Unless you have no vertebrae and your spinal cord is just
you watch any of those ninja movies from back in the day.
Yeah.
People, you're throwing, and we were doing it too. You threw a Chinese, because you remember, did you ever make them fold them out of paper?
Yeah. Out of aluminum foil or tin foil.
Oh,
yeah.
we just did it wow, you were really looking to murder someone. We just did it with paper.
Well, it had to be shiny, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so you throw them across the room, and, like, okay, it would hurt.
Sure.
It wouldn't be the best day you've ever had in your life.
Yeah.
But you're not dropping dead.
It's true.
Unless you're nicking an artery, I get it. You bleeding out. So set that aside. Man, that was happening all the times. Anytime you saw, like the fact that Scarlett has them on her forearm. Like, what do you do? Okay.
I'm not sure I ever had the revelation that they weren't as deadly. I think it was just imprinted.
That's what I'm saying. It was imprinted that they were deadly. And as you get older, you go, nah, not really.
Sure.
Nah, not really.
Too funny. Well, it works here.
Yeah, it totally works here.
Lady J gets her comeuppance.
Yeah, she says that when we meet, this is great. Because Lady J's beating the crap out of somebody, and she says, at least he understands the situation, understands that I'm one of the good guys and he's one of the bad guys. Yeah. He understands that when we meet, we're supposed to beat the hell out of each other, not smile sweetly and say, have a nice day. She's talking to Flint this whole time, which is more than some people understand. Oh, hey, Flint. And he's like, look, Jay, I had no choice. And so they're continuing in the middle of this fight.
But you did, she says.
They're continuing this argument.
That's right.
It's so great.
You chose to spare his life, and as if that wasn't bad enough.
You expect me to work alongside the very man who shot and nearly killed me? Bum, bum, bum. And they see that Destro's been there the whole time with Trent. So, this works well from a storytelling perspective because they didn't slow down the action by explaining it last issue.
Right.
You just saw that she was horrified. And even if you don't know exactly the story, you still can get the fact that she's horrified that they have to work with the bad guy. Mm-hmm. Then in this issue, you get right into the action. And you narratively keep us entertained and bring it to an emotional climax of her really letting out. And all she's doing is letting out exposition of why she is really upset here and what happened in previous issues. But it's all done really in character, really emotional and then you get, a fun reveal that Destro's been there the whole time. And then we get a little page wrap up of why it's so important to work with him, because Destro is going to help them get to Cobra Commander himself.
Yeah. Yeah. And this final panel, again, it mirrors what we just saw in the previous issue
Right.
with Lady J.
Yep.
And then this is so great.
It's a good last
Destro's
panel
eye.
bomb. Yeah. Because Flint's asking him why the sudden change in loyalty, And basically Destro says Cobra's one of their biggest customers. But unless he brings the Venice situation in control, the Mafia will take their business elsewhere because it's Cobra taking over the Mafia. So he's doing this, as he tells the Joes, for financial stability.
Yeah.
So then the next issue opens again. I like that these all open with these like travel log shots of Venice.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. And the description, it's like it's almost like you're being reintroduced to Venice each time.
Yes.
And
Venice, perhaps the most romantic, and like they're doing this tongue in cheek,
of course.
because the most romantic city, and then the first issue, a boat shows up and kills people.
Yeah.
The most romantic city, and then a guy gets shot and murdered. Actually, by the way, also we never saw what happened to that dude.
That's true.
He escaped. Like
That
he
is
didn't
true.
get killed, at least initially.
Yeah.
And then we never really saw what happened to him. But and so now it's Venice, a nice thing, and then we realize that there's some eels that are about to attack our Joes.
Yeah.
Or Action Forces.
Yeah, although compared to what's been happening, this is the most tranquil, I
It
guess, of the action that happens.
Yeah. Footloose is undercover as a boatsman. I'm sure they have a name.
Yes. And it's escaping me right now. I know this.
Gondolier.
Yeah, I've had
Because they're gondolas. Isn't he a gondolier? The dude at the back of the boat that basically drives the boat.
Yes.
Yeah, so Footloose is dressed as that in this What's hilarious, though, is he's dressed in this, like, Popeye looking, not Popeye, I guess, but, actually he looks like the Russian from the Punisher comics.
Sure.
But he's, a gondolier's outfit with a hat and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Lady
J.
J and Flint are just wearing their outfits without the ammunition.
Especially Flint with the camo pants.
Totally. They're not in costume at all.
No.
So when they get attacked by Cobra eels, my assumption is that, the eels are getting them because they're G.I. Joe, just cruising around. And
They saw Action Force coming a mile away.
yeah. Well, Footloose goes into action. He takes his oar and he cracks one of the eels across the face. And this is why that cover is a great Flint versus eel cover.
Yeah.
Nice rendering on the eels' backpacks too. Very toy. They absolutely had that toy in their hands.
Yeah.
Because that looks just like the backpack for the toy.
Yep.
Flint gets the jump.
Classified eel could use take some notes.
Is the classified eel backpack not great?
It's not that retro backpack.
Oh, it's not?
No. So there's been all this and then they did a retro version of the eel and it still doesn't. Anyway.
It's not the same backpack? I'm not paying attention to them. I have them. Not paying attention. Really? Because that backpack's amazing.
So get the Action Force team on.
With the little jets on the bottom that you could pop off and on. Because
Yeah.
if they need it, they don't. That's not on the.
on the classified eel that came out.
Unacceptable.
Right.
Unacceptable.
Anyway.
Well, the eel has the jump on Flint, and Lady J flies out of nowhere and knocks that eel back into the water, like tackles him. She goes into the water with him.
Head first.
Flint gets another eel, kind of grabs Flint in a chokehold, and he flips him onto the boat. And Flint proceeds to fire this dude's harpoon through his own chest.
Yeah, straight down.
And
the reveal, it's great. Like you see the eel just completely in fear, with the spear about to go into his chest, and then you see the harpoon come through the bottom of the boat.
Yep.
And then you just see the arm hanging over.
Yeah. and it looks like, first it looks like, Flint's going to stab him with it.
Sure.
But then by having the harpoon go through the actual bottom of the boat, that tells you he pulled the trigger.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
A little more effective than those throwing stars.
Very more effective. Much more effective. So we got a dead eel in the boat. They're looking for Lady J. Flint's about to jump into the water. He's got to get shirtless first. I feel like that's what's happening here.
That's funny.
Yeah, but he doesn't realize that she hasn't surfaced because he was just fighting for his life. So he says, what you mean she hasn't surfaced? Okay, stay here. I'm going to go after her, but first I'm going to get naked. And then she pops up, and she's got a knife in her hand, so with the dead eel in her, also in her other hand.
Just the helmet.
It's just the helmet. It's not even the.
So you can see where she severed, the oxygen.
Oh right.
And she's just coming up with the helmet.
Oh, that's great. So she.
Unless there's a head in there.
Oh, that'd be even better.
And she decapitated it.
Yes, that's even better.
But,
she murdered that eel.
I'm pretty sure it's without the head.
She decapitated that fool.
Oh man.
So this is where they lost me. She's like, what went wrong? Did they rumble to us? Did they figure us out that we were undercover? Mm-hmm. And Flint's like, nah, I don't think so. We were just probably witnesses to be disposed of, because there's a whole bunch of other morays that are showing up now, and they're attacking the building of the mafia building. Mm-hmm. So he really thinks they didn't know they were Joe's. Our top secret undercover outfits, they fooled everybody.
Definitely.
This is where you're gonna put Footloose in an outfit. Put yourselves in an outfit.
Yeah.
You fools.
Yeah.
You fools.
I mean, I know, American tourists are fairly brash, and so Venetians have to put up with a lot, but
I guess so.
But they could have,
I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I'm not going to go down this route. Because these books are really well edited, and it makes me wonder though if flipping through it. Yeah, it makes me wonder if actually that was supposed to be. No, I mean it had to be. Yeah, I mean he's got the mustache. If that was supposed to be Footloose at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Should have been Shipwreck, honestly.
Totally.
I would have liked
it
that.
would have been made more sense to be Shipwreck, yeah. But no, I mean, he's got the mustache. But you know what I'm saying? Like in the sense of maybe they drew just a gondolier who got in the mix.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
no, it's Footloose for
yeah,
sure.
But it's a bit, yeah. Sometimes you see that where you can cover it up with the dialogue to be like, oh, that's Footloose in disguise.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm just gonna say that they don't understand. There's a reason why Flint and Lady J weren't their covert specialists.
Yes.
Although, wait a minute, Lady J was. She
Yeah.
was a covert specialist.
Yeah.
She was well versed in masking.
Yeah.
I'm totally blanking on that. Oh my God, Lady J, terrible job.
Yes.
Lady J failed the mission. She failed. She did not know the assignment, and she did not execute.
Yeah.
So we got Fang and some hydrofoils. They're attacking this mafia stronghold.
Yeah, and they're doing a good job selling the toys. The Asterix
Oh,
fully
got
armed
to.
Negator gyrocopter.
Got to.
Yeah.
Flint says, "Hey, Destro, what's up?" Because now they're back with the Joes. He said, "You assured us the Cobra Commander wouldn't make his move until this evening. If you've double crossed us,
Mm-hmm.
He says, I don't know. The Cobra Commander must have changed his mind.
This look on Destro's face is just so
like how
pursed lips.
Yeah, talk to me. Listen, man, I'm just doing my best here. It matters little. He says, I promised you Cobra Commander, and there he is. He knew he'd want to oversee the final takeover. So Cobra Commander showed up on this boat to take over this mafia stronghold.
Morays have never been drawn so well.
They're awesome.
Even in the distance here.
That's awesome. And Lady J draws her gun on him and says, yeah, well, when we go to get him, you're going with us. Side by side with Action Force.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Next issue, all together now.
That leads us to that great next issue.
The final issue.
Final issue. And in keeping with this, man, what a great opening. Venice. The romance is gone. The laughter is stifled. The apple of Italy's eye has proven rotten to the core. So, like, it's great. It's like they did it all to set us up for that caption.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cobra Commander saying your request is denied because he's got that Tony Mira on his knees begging for his life. You and the mafia organization you represent have dared to challenge Cobra's right to rule where they please. For this, Tito Mera must die.
Not today, Cobra Commander.
Nope.
As Flint comes crashing through. That's a great panel.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun. Man, the leg strength on Flint.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a shockwave door kick for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And they all come busting through. Guns blazing. Even Destro's shooting. Now, we don't know that he's necessarily aiming, but he's shooting. Shipwreck, while being in this, doesn't really do much.
I know. That's my greatest disappointment.
Yeah, I love Shipwreck.
Least utilized character.
Yep. He says, "Don't Footloose. Don't let these Cobra scum know what's hitting them." Good advice, Footloose. I might well just do that, and not just these small fries. This is what Lady J's thinking to herself. I've got a much bigger score to settle. Just because Destro is helping us doesn't mean anything. He'll always be a villain. So Lady J's like, yeah, I'm going to shoot this fool in the back of the head. But while she's thinking, she's not paying attention, and she almost gets got, and Quick Kick saves her.
Yeah.
But Lady J has one thing on her mind, and she's going to shoot Destro and make it look like a, quote, tragic accident. Meanwhile, in the other room, I feel like Flint's in the other room. They're in one, like they're in the foyer, and Flint's in the main dining hall, kind of a thing. But Flint's outnumbered, outgunned. Cobra Commander's like, when will you ever learn? You should learn to just shoot and be done with it. Asking us to surrender is noble, but ultimately stupid. You stupid man. Flint, I appreciate the concern, but you can be sure that when I do start shooting, my first target will be you. Which he's a liar, because he kills a guard first. Mm-hmm. Never before has a man been proven so quickly to be a liar.
Yeah.
Unless that guard jumped in the way of the bullet, but I don't think so.
Cobra Commander simply says, waste him.
Yeah. And Cobra Commander jumps on, so they're on like the third story, we'll say, something like that. And Cobra Commander just jumps straight up out the window, and Flint's confused. He says, he jumped out the window. Oh, we're four stories up.
Yeah,
he says, we're 4 stories up. What?
Yeah, so Cobra Commander, he's showing some
Zaymot level.
Yeah.
Maybe that ties in with the Mafia, because they were the Mafia. So maybe he learned his acrobatic skills from Tomax and Zaymot while he ran this Mafia operation.
Yeah, definitely.
This panel's hilarious, though, because it's Lady J, who just was in a gunfight, is like, oh, gunshots from upstairs. Flint must be in trouble. Like, yeah, gunshots? Yeah.
This whole time.
You're raiding a Cobra Mafia operation. So she has to make a choice. Does she help Flint, or should she stay and take her revenge? She realizes she has to help Flint.
Then he appears.
And it says, seems like there was a hydrofoil waiting for him in the canal below for Cobra Commander as he jumped.
And looks like Destro took advantage of the confusion to slip away.
He slipped away. There's 2 Cobra guards who survived the carnage. They're being taken prisoner. And Flint's like, I dare say there'll be other opportunities to get both Cobra Commander and Destro. And Lady J, with haunted eyes.
To herself. Doesn't say it.
Haunted.
Yes.
Haunted eyes here. I'm counting on it, Flint. I'm counting on it. Bum, bum, bum. Now, that's the last we see of Action Force for Action Force Weekly.
Yeah.
There's one more page, and it's a great page. They bent over backwards to point out Cobra Commander jumping out of a window and somehow survived. None of that was necessary.
Right.
He could have just jumped out the window.
Sure.
Flint could have just said he got away.
Yeah.
It was weird. So later, Tito Mera is I'm assuming that's a famous picture.
Yeah, I don't know. Clearly,
an original Da Vinci.
It's supposed to be.
I'm
artwork
not super versed on my Da Vinci. It's not Mona Lisa, but it's artwork that's been shot up. And it's Mera saying, I realize it had to look convincing, but stolen or not, it was still an original Da Vinci. So you're like, what? A small price to pay, Tito, I assure you. Well, yes, I suppose you're right. Cobra Commander, bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
So Cobra Commander's still at the place. So maybe they were trying to say that he never actually got away on Amore. He just got ducked off into another room. I don't know. It seems overly complicated. He could have left and come back.
They went down to the basement.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's an unnecessary explanation. And it's Cobra Commander sitting in an easy chair.
With his fingers crossed.
Like I'm the king, I'm the cock of the walk. Destro's standing alongside him. They've won, man. They won this round. And we see that Action Force are now content to believe that they have stopped Cobra gaining a foothold in Venice, when in reality, it's been our fundraising base for months now. It's a mutually beneficial deal with the mafia bosses, and Action Force came perilously close to stumbling over it.
Now the drinks come out.
Drinks come out. He pours them some wine. These 3 glasses. I only see 2 of them drinking, but I'm assuming Destro's got one. And Destro's like, he's closing the Venetian blinds
Yeah.
as they get down to business. And this is great, because you just finished that story arc with Destro saying, I'm taking this place over.
Yeah.
And we close on Destro in the window, looking at us with red eyes, saying, I think we can say, gentlemen, that the blind on our Venetian operation has been successfully drawn. We know he's got plans.
Yeah.
He's in the catbird seat.
Oh, yeah.
These dudes don't even know what they're dealing with. What a great ending.
It's fantastic. And in some ways, the villain wins at the end of this story.
Villains absolutely won at the end of this.
So at the end of our yearly run, 50 issues of Action Force Weekly.
Yeah.
Look who's on top.
Destro. Destro's always on top.
He's been on many covers.
Yeah.
He's on this cover.
Yeah. He's always on top. He's on top in the upper left, always.
I venture to go so far as to say that Destro is the main character of Action Force Weekly.
I think you're correct. I think he and Flint duked it out.
Yep.
And when he survived Flint's attack, he took over.
And Flint has more trauma.
Flint's damaged. and he's in an awkward relationship with Lady J.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And here at the end they say, next, Action Force Monthly.
Oh, buddy.
So they had, in the mission control section of this, they, without any warning, really, they said, Mission Control, the end of Action Force Weekly. Yes, it's true. You are currently holding in your hands the very last issue of Action Force Weekly. But don't despair, loyal readers, for Action Force will live on. Their adventures continue in another Marvel's epic titles, The Transformers, and in the all-new Action Force Monthly. The exploits of Action Force's American contingent will continue in Transformers 153, picking up where Sea Duel, which comes to an earth-shattering conclusion on page 14, leaves off. That's a G.I. Joe reprint. Mm-hmm. This means that you'll still be able to follow Action Force's battle against the tyrannical terror of Cobra and enjoy the thrills and excitement of the heroic Autobots' struggle for survival against the evil Decepticons. The 28-page Action Force Monthly will be appearing in shops soon and will feature every issue, 20 pages of brand new Action Force adventure, a fact file featuring one of your Action Force or Cobra favorites, a tactical arms compendium page on the hardware and weaponry so frequently wielded in the pages of your favorite comic, and mail call featuring all the good, the bad, and the ugly things you, the reader, have to say about Action Force. There'll be more news on Action Force Monthly in the future issues of Transformers, so don't miss out. Make sure you order your copies of Transformers 153. It's in shops on the 15th of February, 1988, next week.
Well, that's very exciting. That's very exciting.
The only problem I have with that is if you have no interest in Transformers whatsoever, they're basically saying, here, buy this other thing, and you'll get a little more Action Force news. And sadly, Action Force only represented a few pages out of each of those Transformers issues, so it's a bit of a raw deal.
Yeah. And they it ran 25 issues, Action Force Monthly.
Yeah, and it was reprinted in the United States as European
Missions, yep.
Which I discovered at some point in the 90s. And
Yeah, I have all those. I've actually technically never read them. I've collected them. But I wanted to put together a full collection of them before I read them all. I've read them, some of them, but
maybe this isn't the end, Joe.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's literally what I'm saying. We're having this conversation live, so we haven't really figured it out yet. But
Sure.
I feel like I would be doing myself and my listeners a disservice if I didn't dig back into there. I don't know if it's gonna be under the Joe-Nie loves Action Force banner, because it's a lot of podcasting and we both have lives. But yeah, I think I'm excited. I think there's no reason why I won't continue down this path, because that's half a year's worth of podcasting.
Yeah, and it's nice because they are, for those of us who have only read the G.I. Joe U.S. releases and never came across European missions. They're original stories written by the British team. So
So I guess tune in some I don't know.
Well, as
Listen, the
they
thing is
say
this-
here, they say coming soon, but they
Right.
don't give a date.
Right.
And in reality, it was several months later.
I fly by the seat of my pants with this podcast.
That's right.
Some days I'm like, all right, today I'm gonna do an episode of the magazine, and then one week I wake up and go, I want to do a how to draw today. So literally, as we record this, I got like 2 how to draws left, I think, and a 3D left I still need to do. So I don't know.
There you go.
You know, Michael,
But this has been fun.
this has been a blast, my friend.
These 50 Action Force Weekly issues, and for me, first time reading and going through all of this. So
Yeah.
coming at it with fresh eyes is so much fun.
Totally brand new to me.
Yeah,
It's been great getting to know you, and sharing the mics with you.
absolutely.
Awesome, listeners. I really hope you all enjoyed this special event as much as we did doing it.
Thank you for coming along.
Yeah, we've been getting together early mornings on the weekends for 2-3 months to kind of get all this together. So as you're hearing this, we're coming off of a couple months sabbatical for me actually producing it. So we're getting all this in the can and take the holidays off to kind of refresh and regroup. And so I literally don't know what next week's episode will be. It is October 12th. When we're recording this, so whatever day you're hearing this, I have no idea what next week's going to be. But I want you to tune in and hear it because it's definitely going to be about G.I. Joe. So, Michael, thank you from the bottom of my heart
Thank you, Joe.
for taking me. You took me on this journey.
Happy to have done it.
Man, listeners, thanks for going along with us. Now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.
Full force.
Action